You know those pictures you see in the postcards? The ones that make you book the flight? For the first 48 hours in the Philippines, that was my reality. I was 25, a British backpacker armed with a well-worn guidebook and a checklist of perfect beaches. I thought I knew exactly what I was coming for: pristine sands and flawless sunsets. But this isn't a story about the perfect beaches. It's about the unexpected things that happen when you wander off the tourist trail, and the kindness that leaves you completely stunned. It's about how a country famous for its islands somehow becomes even more beautiful because of its people. My plan was simple, all mapped out with colorful pins. I'd seen the photos that flood your social media, the ones that make you ache for an escape. White sand, water so clear it looks like liquid glass, and that one lone palm tree leaning over the sea. That was the Philippines I packed for. My itinerary was a highlight reel: island hopping in El Nido, the landscapes of Coron, and maybe a quick stop to see the chocolate hills in Bohol. As a solo female traveler, I'd done my homework. I read that the Philippines was generally safe and welcoming, but you still keep a little wall up. It's a polite shield you carry with your passport. You learn to say no, thank you, with a practiced smile, to keep your bag close, to trust your gut. I was ready for an adventure, but I was also prepared to be alone. I came for that solo traveler isolation, to find myself against a backdrop of paradise. And for the first few days, it was just that. I swam in lagoons as blue as promised, watched sunsets that lit up the sky, and took all the photos I'd dreamed of. It was beautiful, perfect even, but it also felt familiar, like a movie I'd already seen. I was just an observer, moving through this incredible beauty but never really touching it. I had no idea that a flat tire on a dusty, unnamed road was about to change everything. It happened on Siquijor, an island I'd added to my trip on a whim, drawn by its mystical reputation for healers and folklore. I was on a rented scooter, miles from town, looking for a hidden waterfall. The road went from paved to gravel, then to dirt, and then that sputtering halt. My phone, of course, had no signal. For a second, I felt that knot of anxiety every solo traveler knows, stranded with the sun starting to dip. But before panic could kick in, a man on a weathered motorbike pulled up. He didn't speak much English, and my Visayan was non-existent. But through gestures and a kind look, he got it. He pointed at my tire, then at himself, and then down the road. He spent the next half hour patching my tire on the side of that dusty lane with a kit from his own bike. When he finished, I pulled out my wallet, insisting I pay. He just let out a warm, genuine laugh and waved my money away. He simply said, "Welcome," patted my shoulder, and drove off, leaving me stunned. It was a small thing, but it was the first crack in that wall I'd built. A kindness I never asked for and couldn't repay. That one moment changed my whole trip. I started looking for the unnamed roads, instead of avoiding them. I was beginning to see the real Philippines wasn't just in the postcard views, but in the life happening all around them. A few days later, in a small market in Dumaguete, I was staring at a pile of unfamiliar fruits. The vendor, a woman with a smile that crinkled her eyes, saw my curiosity. She sliced open a star apple and handed me a piece. It was sweet and strange and delicious. We didn't have a shared language, but we shared that moment. She wouldn't take my money, just happy to share a piece of her home. This kept happening. In the Cebu Mountains, I took a wrong turn and stumbled upon a tiny village having a local fiesta. Music was spilling out of a small house, and before I knew it, a woman named Maria had pulled me into her family's celebration. Someone pushed a plate of lechon and rice into my hands. Her kids stared at me with wide, curious eyes, then burst into giggles when I tried to say "Salamat po," the respectful "thank you" I was slowly learning. I came expecting to feel alone, but I was never really alone. The Filipino idea of community, of bayanihan, isn't just some word in a guidebook. It's in every shared meal and every offer of help. I was a stranger, yet I was treated like a visiting cousin. These weren't transactions, they were connections. I was learning that Filipino hospitality isn't just about being friendly. It's a deep cultural instinct to care for others and make everyone feel like family. The real heart of my journey happened back in that village, at Maria's house. I ended up staying for 2 days. Her husband taught me a few words in their dialect, and her grandmother showed me how to weave a tiny bird from palm leaves. We ate together, laughed together, and managed to communicate through a clumsy mix of broken English, hand signals, and just humanity. On the morning I had to leave, the whole family came out to say goodbye. It honestly felt like leaving my own family. Maria's mother, the quiet matriarch who had mostly just watched me with a gentle, knowing smile, took my hand. She pressed a small, handmade bracelet of woven beads into my palm. As I held it, she said something to Maria, who translated. She says this is for your protection, so you remember you always have a family here. And that's when I started to cry. It wasn't sadness. It was this overwhelming wave of gratitude that felt so heavy, so real. I had come to the Philippines as a tourist, just passing through. But in that moment, standing on a dirt path with a handmade bracelet in my hand, I felt a sense of belonging I had never felt anywhere else. I cried because strangers had shown me more kindness in 48 hours than I'd sometimes known in years. I cried because I realized my trip wasn't about what I was seeing anymore. It was about what I was feeling. It was about the people who opened their homes and hearts, expecting nothing. I left the Philippines with more than just a camera full of photos. I left with a whole new understanding of what it means to travel. I came looking for beautiful places, and I found them. But the real beauty, the kind that settles into your soul and changes you, was in the people. It was in their resilience, their joy, and their incredible generosity. I learned that real adventure isn't about checking boxes off an itinerary. It's about getting lost and letting a stranger help you. It's about tasting something new and sharing a smile with the person who made it for you. It's realizing that the most breathtaking views are sometimes the ones you share with new friends. The Philippines has over 7,000 islands and is a paradise of natural wonders, but its greatest treasure is its people. I came to see the Philippines, but the Filipino people showed me a new way to see the world. I left with more than pictures. I left with a piece of its heart. And that is why I, and so many other women like me, leave this country utterly in awe. If you've ever had a trip that completely changed your perspective, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Your stories are what connect all of us, and if you want to follow more journeys that go beyond the usual spots, think about subscribing. Thanks for watching.